hoping to get this light just right. Still tweaking with the lights here in this other room. It's Thursday and it's almost 4 o'clock Arizona time. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shannon Miller, and I'm actually CEO and founding member of Clean Freaks University, where I teach others how to run the back end of their business instead of being run over by their cleaning business. And I also have been a cleaning business owner here in the great state of Arizona for over a decade. Hi, I don't know who's there, it doesn't show me. And today we're going to talk about self-care. This actually, hi Nicole, how are you? This actually has come up recently in the last couple weeks as we kind of jumble through whatever election voter cycle that we're going through. It's making a lot of us exhausted. You're emotionally exhausted, you're physically exhausted, you're mentally exhausted, and it's so important that you give yourself self-care. As a matter of fact, I think that since 2020, we've had this whole pivotal shift where it's allowable and it's okay to talk about how you need self-care. I'm not talking about where you need quiet time in a room with crayons and a paper. You can schedule that in. I'm talking about genuine self-care to help yourself feel better so that you can charge on, right? When you don't give yourself self-care, you can burn out. And I will give an example. I'm guilty of it myself. Way back when I started my business, it was just me. I was just a solo cleaner. I didn't know what I was doing. I was charging by the hour. I was making a mess of things. And I genuinely, there's a couple periods of time where I worked 26, 27 days in a row, 31 days in a row without a day off. I didn't have any clearly defined boundaries. I let clients call me at all times of the day. They would yell at me, all kinds of things. The shenanigans that I let clients get away with. And because we're groomed to be people pleasers, we just take it because we don't want to lose the business. But I'm telling you, as the economy has shifted, taking self-care is a good thing. It really does prevent you from burning out. And when I'm talking about boundaries, I'm talking about working Monday through Friday. Sometimes I talk to you guys and you're like, yeah, I work like 16 days in a row. I'm like, 16 days in a row is not good, especially when you have littles. Think of all of the time that you're missing with your babies, right? Or your significant other, your soulmate. Those are important attributes because we are put here on earth to live a life, not just work all the time, not just bump and grind it. I'm always about working smarter, not harder, because I've done the other way where I worked really hard and I wasn't being very smart. And there was a couple times I almost, like, oh my gosh. So yeah, you would get, when you work that many days in a row, you get a headache, you're exhausted emotionally and physically, you're burnt out, you're not doing your best work, and God forbid someone asks something extra of you, you're just like, screw off, I'm not doing it. So that isn't always the best attitude to have when you need self-care. And when you give yourself self-care, you recharge your batteries. And sometimes it's a budgetary thing. Like today I had a mani-pedi. I haven't had one in a couple weeks. And there's a lot of reasons why I haven't had one. The most important one was that I broke my foot in July and I'm still having issues with it. So the thought of having someone massage it wasn't very appealing. But today I was like, I really need to have my toes done. So that was a little bit of self-care I gave myself. And for those guys out there, I've seen guys have mani-pedis as well. It just depends on if that's your thing or not. If that's out of the budget entirely, walking outside, I'm really fortunate. I could drive 15 minutes in almost all directions, and I have national forest beside me. So if I really wanted to like connect with the earth, and I've done this before, I've driven my truck out into the trees and I've taken off my shoes, and obviously you got to be careful of goat heads, and I've walked barefoot to connect with the planet, and it's made me feel good. It didn't give me a lot of satisfaction depending on what my situation was, but most of the time it gives me enough to fill my cup. So, and I actually like to be out hiking. This is my favorite time of year. Because of my foot injury, I haven't been able to do that. And it's been really frustrating for me because normally I'm in Sedona every single day in October and November. I just like, I got to be out in the trees. I'm one of those tree huggers. I got to do my thing. And I can't do that right now because I'm still dealing with this injury from July. So self-care is important. If you have littles at home, I remember my self-care moment was after everyone went to bed. I'd get a glass of wine, I'd maybe journal, or I would do something that I really enjoyed. I didn't just veg out in front of the television. And if that's what your thing, hey, I'm not criticizing it. It's just not my thing. I like to plan where I'm going to go, what my goals are, where I see myself a year from now. And it's always funny because right before the end of the year, I write my fresh goals. And then I kind of check through the year to see if I'm meeting them. But then I rehash everything at the following end of the year to see how far I've progressed. And sometimes when I don't think I've progressed at all, I'm like, oh, my goodness, I did a lot, right? So you just never know what will satisfy those needs. Sometimes if you're trying to figure out what your wants and needs are, you can do a pro and con, right? And you can just put wants on one side and needs on the other. I want a house that I have purchased. I want a Land Rover. I want this. And you can try to sit there and strategize over how you're going to get those things. I want to go to church every Sunday, and I want to teach Bible school. That might be your thing. That might be fulfilling for your soul and your spiritual needs. You just never know what those are going to be. But I highly recommend that you take at least 1 or 2 days, and even if it's not a whole day, just little segments of time to regenerate yourself so that you can be there for others. If you don't regenerate yourself, you will not be able to be there for others because you will be burnt out. You'll be tired and exhausted, and you'll have a headache, and you won't feel entirely good, and you can't figure out what's wrong. It's because you've worked too many hours physically. So those are things that you can do. If you are at the point where you need extra help and can't afford to pay it, you can always trade. I highly recommend trading for bookkeeping services. Some of you guys, there's a shoe here, littles. Didn't mean to bump you either. Sometimes you need to do other things to make things happen. I lost my train of thought and I'm totally sorry. But making sure that you have self-care, whether it's in a small segment of time or a whole day to yourself, every once in a while, I will just go out and have me time. I will go and have a cup of coffee at the coffee house. I'll journal a little bit. I'll have lunch. Maybe I'll meet some girlfriends. Maybe I'll just have lunch by myself, depending on my schedule. And then, my husband will pick up the littles from school. It just depends on where I am and what I need, right? So those are important attributes to have for self-care. I know a couple people in the group who have been nice enough to share their experiences, had a couple really rough days. And sometimes you're just going to, when you're dealing with humans, you're going to deal with the ugly side of humanity, unfortunately. And sometimes people are just not very nice. If you look at anything that comes to cleaning, look at The Handmaiden, right? That was a really great series. I watched most of it, and it was on the premise of that, how maids were, slaves. That they produced babies, because they couldn't, the elite couldn't produce. If you don't know anything about it, you can just kind of read it, or you can watch it. But every part of our society has a negative connotation for the cleaning industry. And it's unfortunate, but that's where we all come together as a team, and we make that change, right? American House Cleaners Association. I'm not really a big fan. I am a member of that group. I'm not a member of the organization, but I appreciate where they're going with it. I understand why they're doing what they're doing. And that's kind of a cool thing to belong part of that. We have a small chapter here, not part of them, that is here in Arizona, and we get together usually quarterly, and we can kind of check in with each other. Hey, how is business where you are? What are your wants and needs? How can we assist each other through collaboration? That also helps with the burnout, because if you don't know any other cleaners in your area and you get a large job and you can't find a helper, gotta get a hold of your friends, right? You should know who the other cleaning business owners are in your neck of the woods. You should know who the other big cleaning business owners are. Sometimes you can give a direct referral. Sometimes you don't want to. Maybe you want to give it to the small guy instead of the big guy. You just never know what you'll need, and it's all about collaboration. So I highly recommend that you take consideration for yourself and give yourself some self-care. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it can be frustrating and it can be overwhelming. And I've been there with you. Sometimes I've spoken to people at in the evening and they just needed a hand holding or a little bit of a pep talk. You know, it depends on, you know, the dynamics of our relationship. I can give you an air hand. But I've spoken to a lot of you. I know that I mentioned that I had accumulated $750,000 in sales for the members of our group alone. I actually was thumbing through some of the numbers and I forgot about this other segment of people that I helped. So it's actually close to $1 million in sales that I've helped you guys achieve, which is phenomenal. So and that's just a small segment of our group. Can you imagine the volume if we all, you know, like if we all kind of knew the ins and outs of everyone's businesses? I mean, I'm not saying share numbers or anything, but it would be interesting to see how much money, how much volume our group of 5,000 would generate in a year. And I didn't even touch, you know, more than, I would say, 250 people. So if you just kind of break down the math on what that is, that could be a lot of money. That's a lot of potential of income for a lot of people. Excuse me. So, and I'm trying not to touch the table because I couldn't hook up the mic because my phone was dead, so I had to charge it. I had too many phone calls today. So with that being said, for those who have not made the decision to take the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy, I highly recommend that you do so. This will be the last class of this year. It will not be offered this way next year. We're doing a totally different format. I uploaded 15 more videos today, and it will be a totally different offering. But you get the private Facebook group, you get all of my digital products, you get my contracts bundle. I go live in the other group once a month. It is something that you guys do have to commit to time-wise. So it's an hour of your time once a week for 10 weeks in a row. And we meet Arizona time. So typically this class is going to be held on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Arizona time. If that's something that you're interested in, I've even broken it down into a payment plan. And the reason for that is way back when, I want to say probably 25 years ago, was my very first business coach that I paid for. And I knew that I needed her help, but I could not afford to pay for her services. And she gave me a payment plan, and that was how I worked out getting her services to get my business where it needed to go. It's amazing to me that I've been here 20 years. Time goes by so fast. You just wouldn't believe it. But yeah, 25 years ago was my very first business coach. And I swore when because I knew that one day I was going to do this, that I would be able to reciprocate and give that offering to you guys. A lot of other business coaches don't offer a payment plan. Like I think mine's pretty flexible. There's a couple business coaches that it's 10 grand and you need to come up with the 10 grand all at once. Some of them will let you do 2 payments. Other people will let you do $500 payments. It just depends on what's going on in your business. But I think it's really an approachable business model for people who really genuinely need the help to get the structure they need to grow. You can ask any of the students who have taken the course. To the best of my knowledge, they're all happy. But there's been some really great success stories. You know, look at Hot Mops. She got a billboard and she's like, you know, in the best of her area, and she's gotten all these awards, and she just got the structure together in her business, revamped everything, and voila. I mean, she's at the top of her game in her area, and she really has expanded and grown. That's Miss Jackie Cups. There's been a couple of others. I mean, if you look at Jamie just started in, I want to say February, and she is on fire. I talk to her at least once a week. And she has employees now and has got all these jobs, and she joined the chamber, and she did every single thing that I suggested, and was really able to structure and grow her business. I mean, you can ask any of the students who've taken the course what it was like for them, and if you felt that was worth it and all that other stuff, because I highly recommend that you do get the structure and you do get ready for next year so that you have clear goals so you can actually meet them and pivot where you need to go, because we still don't know what's going to happen with the employee piece for next year. No one said anything. I have posted a couple of articles in the group about how the IRS is going to try to consider 1099's actual employees because they want the income. I'm not sure if that's going to fall through or fall flat on its face. I hope it doesn't, but you just don't know. I'm not in charge of those things. I'm only in charge of cleaning, right? So those are things that are coming up. So if you are interested in the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy, private message me. I'll get you the information. It's all done through DocuSign. It's 3 documents, credit card authorization, an agreement and then a questionnaire about your business to see if it's a good fit. There's actually been a couple people who've applied and I've told them no because their business wasn't where that was and I didn't want them to waste their money, and they ended up getting one-on-one coaching, which is a whole different deal. If you guys decide that you want one-on-one coaching, private message me. There is an application and it's application basis only. So that way I can see if I'm going to be a good fit for you. I might not be a good fit for everybody. So not everybody gets the same thing, right? So you just want to make sure that whoever you pick is a good fit for you. In any case, I could just go on and on and on, but I'm just going to get going because I can hear my littles upstairs. And I look forward to your questions. Oh, and if you're catching this on the replay, if you could type hashtag hashtag replay, or please like my video or heart it. It does really help with the algorithm with Facebook to help it move along. If we don't get any hearts or likes on the video, what happens is it just sits for 24 or 48 hours until you guys finally see it on your feed. It's just like, but I have no control over Facebook. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you next week. Take care.